We are welcome back to the second part of the class, where we will now be talking about hypermedia. Hypermedia. That is what we'll be talking about, hypermedia. And so what do we mean by this concept of hypermedia? We'll be looking at the concept of hypermedia in this class. So at the end of this particular class, you should be able to define what you mean by hypermedia, what you mean by hypertext, and what you mean by hyperlink concepts. You should also be able to describe the available tools that can be used to develop hypermedia. You should explain what relationship exists between multimedia and hypermedia. You should also distinguish between hypertext and hypermedia. And lastly, you should be able to describe how hypermedia documents are organized. Definitions we'll be looking at, 3 definitions: hyperlinking, hypertext markup language, and hypertext. Several of you, at one time or the other, you've been going through documents online. While you are online, as you are reading the document, you now are scrolling through, you just notice a particular text underlined. Sometimes the color of the text will be blue, sometimes it will be black. But the moment you move your mouse pointer to where the text is, it will just highlight it. Then you click on it, automatically you are moved away from that page to another page. That is what you mean by hyperlinking. Taking you from one page to another on the same big document. It could be a book, could move you from page 1 to page 500 and take you back again. So hyperlinking is an index which allows you to jump around to different sections of electronic documents. And these documents could be ebooks, they could be web pages, and so on. Hypertext markup language, HTML, has features that allows a person to build hyperlinks to other web pages or location on the same page. Hypertext is a text which contains links to other texts and is therefore usually non-linear. When you say it's linear, it means it moves sequentially from top to bottom, from one page to the other. But hypertext does not move linearly, because while you are reading it is moving sequentially. You encounter a hypertext, it can take you away from that page while ignoring the remaining contents of the page to maybe about 4 pages later. So it is non-linear. It is a general term applied to clickable text. Once a user clicks on a word or words, he is then taken to a different document or another area of the current document. Hypermedia refers to multimedia systems which include non-linear structure of information units, events, and discrete data. That is, the information that is contained in hypermedia, they are non-linear, meaning you could move from one location to the other without notice. Immediately, a hyperlink is encountered. Hypermedia can be considered as one of the multimedia applications because it combines materials in many media. Sometimes it could be text. Who is that one at the background? Can you reduce it? We really do not like all this noise coming from the background. So what I was saying was this, that hypermedia can be considered as one of the multimedia applications which combine text materials in many media. It could be text, just a text. You are just get to where that text is. You click on it, it takes you to the desired location. You could be reading a book on life of Christ, and you now go to an area where it says one of the disciples of Christ is Matthew. And when you get to Matthew, it's hyperlinked. You now want to take a break from that document to go and read about the life of Matthew. If you click on it, it moves you from that page to another page, something later, where Matthew's life is depicted. You can read it, and then you can return to where you left if there's another hyperlink taking you back. It can be a graphic act. Somebody's picture can be at a corner. You click on it, it takes you to the page where that picture is. It can be a sound, can be a video, and animation. All these media, they are delivered via digital computer or other electronic means. and can provide a link structure through which a user can navigate through elements. Hypermedia is a general term applied to clickable media. Once a user clicks on a particular word or graphic, it can be a word, it can be a picture, he is then taken to other text, graphics, sound files, or animation, or moving video that may contain contents related to what he has just clicked on. So the World Wide Web is a classic example of hypermedia, whereas a non-interactive cinema presentation is an example of standard multimedia due to the absence of hyperlinks. Most modern hypermedia is delivered via electronic pages from a variety of systems, including media players, web browsers, and standalone applications. Hypermedia, audio hypermedia is emerging with voice command devices and voice browsing. You could see some books now, you now call them audiobooks. They could read them out to you. And then they have voice commands that can even move from one particular area of the voice recording to another. Hypermedia development tools. Hypermedia may be delivered in a number of ways. Any programming tool can be used to write programs that link data from internal variables and nodes for external data files. Multimedia development software like Adobe Flash, Adobe Director, Macromedia Authorware, and Matchware Mediator, you can search for them, may be used to create standalone hypermedia applications with emphasis on entertainment content. We also have some database software tools such as Visualforce Pro and FileMaker Developer. And these tools can be used to develop standalone hypermedia applications with emphasis on business content management and educational area. The person that is just joining after one class has passed, the second one is just flow with us. Here you can flow with us. Whatever you can get, you get. What you can't get, when you get the material, you read, then you ask your question. That is how it ought to be. We can't go back because of you. Hypermedia applications may be developed on embedded devices. When you say embedded devices, it could be your phone that has microchips that drive that particular device. It could be a car. For the mobile and digital signage industry, using the scalable vector graphics specification from World Wide Web Consortium. Software tools, application tools such as Ikivio, Animator, and Inkscape simplify the development of hypermedia content based on scalable vector graphics. Embedded devices could be your iPhone or your Android phone, natively support scalable vector graphic application specifications and may be used to create mobile and distributed hypermedia applications. Then hyperlinks, those ones that you click on, it takes you from one place to the other, may also be added to data files using most business software via the limited scripting and hyperlinking features that are built in. Documentation software such as Microsoft Office Suites allows for hypertext links to other content within the same file, other external files, and URL links to files on external file servers. Even when you are using Microsoft Word, you can also create and add hyperlink to your document, and it could move you from one part of the document to the other. For more emphasis on graphics and page layout, hyperlinks may be added using most modern desktop publishing tools. And these kind of tools, they include presentation graphic programs like Microsoft PowerPoint, add-on to print layout programs such as Quark iMedia, and tools to include hyperlinks in PDF documents such as Adobe InDesign for creating and Adobe Acrobat for editing. Acrobat can allow you to edit now, but not the one that you normally have on your system. I think when you want to edit, it allows you to buy. When you buy, you can actually edit your PDF file, can convert your PDF file to any format, including Word. And so things are getting more better for all of us. HyperPublish is a tool specifically designed and optimized for hypermedia and hypertext management. And just take note, any HTML editor may be used to build HTML files accessible by any web browser, because HTML is actually the content you have on your internet. So your CD or DVD authoring tools, such as DVD Studio Pro, may be used to hyperlink the contents of DVD for DVD players or web links when the disk is played on a personal computer connected to the internet. Hypertext. In contrast to traditional documents, hypertext and hypermedia have as their major property a non-linear information link. They could just be present in a document. When you get to where you have the hypertext or hypermedia, you are moved to an entirely new area. So it's no longer sequential. So a hypertext structure is a graph consisting of nodes and edges. The nodes are the actual information units. The edges provide links to other information units. One can navigate through a document by clicking the edges, which are arrows or links. And the roots of the arrows are known as anchors. The links, they serve as a navigation aid by allowing users to access information quickly and to navigate from one topic to another in a non-linear manner. This is an example of a hypertext. You could see the document, maybe let's say 4 pages. There's picture somewhere, there's video in another, there's graph somewhere, and there's text in one. While you are going through the text from the first part, you are going down, you discover being moved maybe through a hypertext to the second document where you have a picture. As you are in the second document after the picture, another hypertext takes you back to the first document. While you are still in the first document, another hypertext can take you to the second document, and from the second document, you can go to the fourth. From the first, you can go to the third. So you could see that the flow was supposed to be from first to second, second to third, and third to fourth. But here, because of the different hypertext and hyperlink, you are moved from one page to the other, not linearly, in haphazard manner. So hypertext refers to a document containing purely text, or sometimes some images, but no continuous media, with non-linear links. While there have been a number of hypertext systems before the recent bloom of World Wide Web, example, Apple's HyperCard. A hypertext is, how do we call this one now? When you have the two sets coming together, you call it union. When they are mixed like this, you call it intersection. So a hypertext is an intersection between multimedia and the hypertext, the two sets. A hypermedia is in between. Sorry, hypermedia, no hypertext. A multimedia is somewhere, a hypertext is somewhere, and then the intersection of these two sets gives you what you call a hypermedia. Hypertext versus hypermedia. Let's see whether we can have some distinction. Hypertext refers to the system of managing the information related to the plain text, while hypermedia refers to connecting hypertext with other media, such as graphics, sounds, and animation. So sometimes when you have the hypertext, it connects you, you can manage it, it is plain text, but you now format the plain text to now become hypertext. But when this hypertext is now going to connect with already the network went off, but I believe it will allow us to finish the class as soon as possible. Sorry about that. So when you have a hypertext living where it is and connecting to other media, such as graphics, sound, and animation, it becomes hypermedia. Then another distinction is that hypertext involves only text, but hypermedia involves graphics, image, video, audio, and even text together. Hypertext allows the user to navigate through text in a non-linear way, while hypermedia includes multimedia to improve the multimedia experience. That's the third difference. Hypertext provides a less user experience to the users than the hypermedia, because the hypermedia contains contents in a variety of forms. So the user may enjoy looking at those contents instead of reading through a boring page of text. So hypertext provides a less user experience to the users than the hypermedia. Why hypermedia provides a better user experience to the users than the hypertext. These are some of the distinctions. Example, this is hypermedia. You have video, music, like that. Hypertext, normal text. Normal text is linear. Hypertext is non-linear. Those are the distinctions. Document structure. Your document structure is the logical organization of the information. That is the content of your document, how it is arranged. So traditional content. I think the network is very unstable because it's about the weather is cloudy here. It looks as if it's about raining. So we are sorry about that. Let's just see how we can quickly.
I'm seeing our lecture.
You say? The weather is unstable here, so it's causing a lot of problems.
You can see our lecture on.
So the document structure, traditional documents such as a book may contain only text and still images like pictures. And they can be organized linearly. The logical structure will be, for example, each book will have a chapter. Each chapter will have a section. Each section will have subsection. And each subsection will have paragraph. Each paragraph will have sentences. Each sentence will be made up of words like that. And each word will be made up of letters. Altogether, that is how the structure of a book may be decomposed. And when documents are exchanged, everything about the document has to be transferred. This includes the contents, the structure, and the presentation. Therefore, it requires some way of describing the structure and presentation of the document along with its content. So that is what we are looking at here, the document structure. So when document markup, when exchanging hypertext documents, we need to transfer the content as well as the structure and the presentation of the document. Document markups allow us to specify the document structure and how it is presented by inserting commands into the document. And these commands are known as markups. There are in general two kinds of markups. We have logical markup and visual markup. The logical markups marks the document elements according to their functions and relations with other elements like chapter, section, paragraph, but it does not tell us how the elements looks like. So the advantages of logical markups are the document structure is explicit. And so the organization of the information is clear from chapter to section to paragraph. It is easy to maintain the consistent look of the document, and it requires a more powerful process to render or present the document. Visual markup defines how the elements are rendered. For example, a chapter title, that is how you look at it. That is visual, how you visualize and look at it. Are the text slanted? Are they thicker? Are they finer the way they are presented? That is visual, your eyes is looking at it. But the first one, when you say logical, it is essentially how they are arranged from the book to chapter, from chapter to section, section to paragraph. Visual markup is how you perceive it when you are looking at it. Is the heading big? Is it underlined? Is what kind of character font is used? So the visual markup defines how the elements are rendered. For example, a chapter title is formatted in Helvetica bold 4 points. Who is this person disturbing us? So, who is this one with everybody? Please mute your mic. Ademola, your mic is on. So, its chapter title is formatted in Helvetica bold 24 point. Helvetica is a character format, a type of font. Bold is how thick that particular font is. 24, the point is how big it is. While a section heading is formatted in Times New Roman, bold 20 font. With visual markup, the logical structure is lost. You are not looking at chapter, paragraph again. Rather, you are visualizing the appearance of the text to your eyes. Visual effects of the elements are explicit. It's easier to keep the fidelity, that is the flow, and it's easier to render the document. It is hard to maintain the consistent look of the document because it may not be consistent. Each chapter or each page may have a different outlook. And the document can be viewed in these two aspects at the same time. Yes, you can be looking at the chapter, paragraph, section, presentation, while also admiring how it is formatted in terms of the text form. It is possible you do the two at the same time. Document markups. In the diagram on the left, if we start from the top, we will see the logical structure of a document. This is the chapter. Yes, then this is the okay, chapter 1 like that, as the case may be. Chapter title as the case broken down like that, and then it is broken down. Then when you now get to each block of text, you start seeing how they are formatted. If you start from the bottom, you see the presentation aspect of the document. If you start from the top, you see the logical flow of the document. In summary, before network will log us out, then we can take question and answers as much as we can. In this class, we have learned that multimedia components involve interactivity and hyperlink features. Such components include hypermedia, hyperlink, and hypertext. Hypermedia refers to multimedia systems that include non-linear structure of information units, events, and discrete media. Hypermedia may be developed using programming tools, database software, multimedia development software, even on embedded devices for the mobile phones, and scalable vector graphics. Document structure is the logical organization of the information. And when exchanging hypermedia and multimedia documents, we need to transfer the content as well as the presentation of the document. Questions. Precious. Why are hypermedia and hypertext documents referred to as non-linear information link? Precious things. We even have an Asiwaju in this class, Tunde Olaniyan. Asiwaju Tunde Olaniyan. Why are hypermedia and hypertext documents referred to as non-linear information links? You are the chief here today, so you can answer. Hello, Tunde. Why are hypermedia and hypertext documents referred to as non-linear information links? Why?
Can I answer, sir?
You can answer. That is precious.
Okay.
Asiwaju, we have to pay you for answering for him. Go ahead and answer.
Okay, they are referred to as non-linear information links because they do not, they are links and text which can take you to various aspects of that document. They do not follow a serial arrangement and structure at which you can read down. It can bounce you from one aspect of the document to another aspect entirely.
Yeah, you are correct. Ajayi Olugbenga, you are raising your head, John. What do you understand by the term hypermedia?
In my own understanding, it is not in sequence. It is not in sequence.
You are done? Are you done? I'm asking if you are done with your definition. Cynthia Jacques, can you give us what you understand by the term hypermedia? Cynthia Jacques, Celidion Kings. Any of you can answer. Now that I'm asking a question, you pretend not to be online. And that is not fair. Abdulganiyu, Abdullahi. What do you understand by the term hypermedia?
So, sir, hypermedia, from my own understanding, is just a multimedia application that combines material in different media form. Could be text, video, and even graphics.
They are also linked. It is non-linear. Add that to it, and that may be.
Okay, it is not. It is non-linear, right?
It is non-linear.
It is not. Okay.
Okay. All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And so other questions you can look at them. They can also help you understand the content of class. We have a platform where many of you come on board and start talking about other courses, which is not encouraged, because the platform was opened just for us to interact about CIT735. But people come there and talk about GST, talk about other courses, which is not too good. Those other courses, the lecturer should create their own platform so that you don't disturb us. And you also post content from other courses to that particular page. I feel that when we have questions or any comment about any aspect of this course, we can discuss on it on that platform. Even when I don't respond, some other persons who have read further can also respond. And so your material, I think the PDF, I will send them. Sorry, please. The material, the PDF, can be sent to your WhatsApp page, while I also make effort to edit your course page so that I can put whatever I want to put there. I noticed that the Zoom video that we are recording could not be recorded in the cloud. So I will contact the people at your Open University, and the files may be too large to even be sent to you on email or attached on WhatsApp. So what we are going to do now, I don't know whether I should convert it into a YouTube and then give you the link. You can go there and be watching it, which is free. I think that will be easier. All of you have YouTube on your phone. So if I see that it cannot be sent on its own through your email, if I see that the video will be too large for your class, then what I will, for the email, I will now post it on YouTube and give you the link, put it on your course page. But I will interact with the technical people at NAN to now give me access. I think they always withdraw access at the end of each semester. Give me back the access to now be able to host the meeting and then record in the cloud. Once it is in the cloud, all I need to do is to give you the username and password, and you can access it from everywhere. And because they didn't give me that right, that is why this meeting was ending after less than 1 hour. Yes, which is bad. So I will talk to them before our next class so that we can have an uninterrupted meeting. So thank you so much for coming on board today. We'll meet, God willing, same time next week. By the time we finish the class next week, we'll now decide
Thank you, sir.
the most appropriate time to hold the class. Because Wednesday, because I'm on break now this week and next week, that's why I choose this time of Wednesday. But after next week, Wednesday, 7 o'clock will no longer be conducive. If we must pick a time, it must be during the daytime, maybe 4 to 6 or 5 to 6. That will be okay. We'll continue with our 1 hour class. So do take care of yourself. Have a blessed evening ahead.
Thank you very much, sir.
October 1st is a public holiday.
Thank you, sir.
October 2nd,
sir.
sorry. October
Thank you,
2nd on Monday is a public holiday. If you don't mind, if we are going to be less busy, we can decide on the platform to hold the class on that October 2nd. So we'll debate it on the platform later. Take care.
All right.